What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another boxinacorner.net video. In today's video, we are going to be giving you advice in the mid game for Stella Maiden. As always, you are more than welcome to check out the timestamps listed in the video description, so that way you can go ahead and jump to a topic that interests you. Now, this video is a follow-up to a previous video I did for Stella Maiden. I call that one the Stella Maiden Newbie Primer. If you haven't watched that video yet and you perhaps stumbled upon this video throughout the world of YouTube, no apologies needed. You're more than welcome to go and check out that previous video. If you Google Stella Maiden Newbie Primer, it should be the first hit on Google, and I'm very flattered. I'm even more flattered that a website, which I believe I'm going to go and showcase right here, called Chapter Cheats, decided to link my video for Stella Maiden, which I'm very flattered for. I've never heard of the website. I'm sure they've never heard of me, so it's mutually kind of a question mark, but nonetheless, they decided I was worthy enough to be on the site. I think it's one of those sites that just kind of scours the internet for guides. In any case, like I said, if you haven't watched that video, feel free to do so, because in this one, this is more for a mid-game player. I'm going to give advice that's might be a little bit obscure if you've just started. So like I said, feel free to check that video out first. That way you won't get lost watching this one. But you do decide to watch it anyway, no harm, no foul. Go back and watch it later, the first one anyway. So that way you have a concept of what I'm talking to. So I want to remind folks out there that this game is available on Google Play as well as the App Store on iOS. So feel free to spread the word for both platforms. And if either of those platforms do not sound appealing to you, you can actually play this game on PC using an Android emulator. As a matter of fact, I'm using BlueStacks 4 right now on the right-hand side of the screen. Of course, that's not the only emulator for Android. You can use other ones as well. They work just fine. This game is very not resource intensive. And I believe another popular emulator is Nox, off the top of my head. So let's go and move on to some housekeeping stuff, mostly shout-outs, before we get started with the meat and potatoes of the guide. A huge shout-out to these lovely folks right here, a.k.a. Green Villager and Vendi. They have different names on YouTube, but they let me know that those are their names on Discord. And they posted very useful information on my last video in the form of comments. I have highlighted these comments, and they are there, and they're going to be there forever. So like I said, feel free to go back to the original video, check out the comment section, and read these comments. They're chock full of very useful information. So huge shout-outs to these two folks. But more importantly, they're also on the Discord. So like you can see on the screenshot that I've shown right here, they're Green Villager as well as Vendi. They're very active on the Discord. As a matter of fact, Green Villager is the admin of the English Discord for Stella Maiden. So feel free to join it. It has a lot of folks talking over there. You're more than welcome to ask questions. People should hopefully answer you. And we're trying to build that Stella Maiden community. All right? So head on over to there. They put a lot of hard work into maintaining it. The least you can do is go over there and check out all the useful information they have. My second shout out goes to Kwin, which has been with me for a very long time as well. So shout out to him. He posted this ginormous comment on my previous YouTube video. You're more than welcome to check it out. So huge thanks to him as well. Full of a lot of information. He was an ex-Korean player. I think he still plays the Korean version. I'm not too sure. You can ask him if you want to. He's also in the game as well. I've seen him blurb a few words in the talk box, as well as he's also on the English Discord. Okay, so thank you, Kwin. I've highlighted this comment as well on the previous video, so you should be able to find it under the comments section. Moving on to a resource that I recently found. This is the Stella Maiden Gamekee, which I believe is a Asian version of GameWiki or Wikipedia, okay, or game, whatever the case may be. Gamekee is a new resource that I recently found out. It's chock full of information. I'll show you that in just a moment. But a huge shout out to one of its main contributors. I'm not sure that's the proper name. I'm going to go ahead and call them Dragon Dance, because that's what the translator is telling me, all right? This website is actually originally in Chinese. I believe it's in Chinese, okay? Don't quote me on that. But Google Translate is doing its job. So a huge shout out to Dragon Dance for being one of the main contributors to the site. And this is actually how it looks like translated. But just keep in mind, this is not actually how it looks like when you first see it, because, like I said, it is an Asian, like kind of like a Wikipedia thing, okay? But it works just fine using Google Translate. It has a lot of useful information. I highly suggest you check this out if you need more additional resources for Stella Maiden, just in case, for whatever reason, the English Discord isn't cutting it for you. All right, so head on over to here. I'll link this in the video description as well. All right, 5 minutes of introductions. Let's go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes of today's mid-game guide. So a couple of things that I've seen users in the Discord kind of glance over is a feature that's built into the game. This is the auto map function. Let's go ahead and bring that up and show you what it is all about. So here is the auto map, and let me go and adjust my microphone so it's a little closer to my lips. And how auto map works is it's this game's pseudo auto grind function. Now you can go ahead and use this for any coordinates on the map or for the sector. And your units will automatically travel there in sequential order, meaning the order that you tell it to go. And then it's going to go ahead and essentially go there and hopefully kill anything in its way. Okay, and once it's done, it's done. And then you can go and repeat this as many times as you want to, although there is a data limit of 180 minutes for every day. Okay, now let's just go and show you how this works. Let me see if I go and click 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know what? Let's go and finish off at the portal because why not? Okay. So you are allowed up to 5 locations on the sector map. And I want to let you know that you cannot do this for a sector that you just entered. It has to be a sector that you've already cleared or conquered. And I believe the requirements for conquering a sector is liberating all of the planets. I'm not sure about the bases. I'm not sure about that. But I know you have to liberate all of the planets. And I do believe you have to kill the very last Reflectstar. Or not Reflectstar, I'm sorry, the D-Maker for that sector. I wish I researched this before I did this video. I'm so sorry about that. But my point being is that that sector has to be considered clear in order for this function to work. If it's not considered clear, you cannot use it. It's going to say like there's an undiscovered planet or something like that. Okay. But in any case, this is how it works. You go and choose 5 locations. You go ahead and choose how many recovery cores you want to use and if you want to skip events. So let me go and briefly explain what that means. So if you have an excess amount of recovery cores, if you put your units on an auto path, they're going to go and kill anything on their path. If some of your units die, the automatic recovery core option that you see right here that you can adjust will go ahead and use recovery cores that you have in stock to go ahead and revive those units. So that way they can go ahead and keep on auto fighting. Okay. I would say liberally use this option. Don't hoard your recovery cores like I do. I mean, I have been using them, but as you can see, I have quite a amount in storage. And this is very useful for folks who have just cleared a recent sector. So in that the units are pretty much the same level as your units. Okay. That way, this is going to grind up your units very quickly. It's just a very helpful option to have. And yeah, like I said, don't be stingy with the recovery cores. All right. That's the long and the short of it. Now, event skip, what this does is that it allows you to skip events that happen when you blow up bases. Now, when you blow up bases, 3 things can happen off the top of my head. You get a little escape shuttle or escape pod that you can go ahead and escort to the nearest base. You get an ambush, meaning that enemy units will ambush you. Or a actual battleship will show up, like the actual ship itself will show up, and then you have to fight it. Now, event skip should go ahead and skip all of these events, as well as skipping little rings that you happen to come across. I'm not 100% clear on that, though, because maybe I'm completely wrong on this, and someone is going to clarify in comments and make me look like a dumbass, which I wouldn't be surprised. But it could just be that you're skipping ring events, okay? Meaning that, you know those little circle rings that you see? It just could mean that you skip those, which I wouldn't understand why it would do that because it's on the way. But nonetheless, that's what event skip is, okay? So you can enable it on or off, up to you. Personally, because this is not a full-blown auto-grind mechanic, I just leave event skip off. To be honest with you, I'm watching it the entire time anyway. And as it's doing its thing, if there happens to be an event, then I go ahead and take care of the event because, you know, events are cool. There are a lot of resources, and they're very easy to do. So, yeah, that's all I would say about that. So that's how you do the auto map function. Feel free to use it liberally, especially in a sector that you have just cleared. Let's go ahead and move on to a mid-game mechanic. Talking about researching skills. Let's go and bring up the skills tab here. So skills of units are very important. I think a lot of players from the early game kind of sleep on this. In other words, they're not thinking about it yet. They're thinking that this is maybe an end-game mechanic, and it's far from an end-game mechanic. If you have a couple of units right now that you really like using and you're going to use them in the long term, it is very important that you start building up those skills for the unit because you know, the difference between level 1 and level like 4 or 5 and level 11 is huge, and it really affects gameplay to a point where a team of level 5 skilled units versus like a team of level 1 skilled units can probably push a lot further than you think, okay? Because sometimes it's just that little extra oomph in the skill that allows you to either beat a sector or it just makes your team that much more effective, okay? And the reason why I want you to think about skills early on right now and start researching them as soon as possible is because their research times start getting ridiculous, okay? So let's go and click on good old Jupiter here, which is my main unit. As you can tell, she's my highest level unit as well as my highest skilled unit. And you can see right here that her last research level not only costs 1,000 research data, but it takes 2 days and 20 hours to finish. Okay? So if I decide to put her in the research queue, she's going to take up to 3 days. One of my main units is going to be out of commission for 3 days. That can be very annoying. You, of course, can go ahead and use a research core, a Swift research core, which I have 4 of right now, to go ahead and quickly finish it, and which I recommend that you do for these overly long ones. But since you're going to be researching so many different units, like I said, you want to think ahead, okay? They're going to be taken out of the game. You want to think about them on a daily basis, which units you're going to research their skill for. And then that way, when you go to sleep or you go away for work, you can go ahead and have them research while you're doing something else because it's going to take a long time to finish, all right? So it's very important that you start getting these leveled up, okay? And I would say cost efficiency-wise, you know, if you had a difference between leveling up a unit from 4 to 5, I believe, or getting a unit from 1 to 4, because I believe that costs the same. My math could be off. I think it's 4 to 5, and then 1 to 4 should cost 600. Okay, I'm bad at math. I'm sorry. But either way, the point I'm trying to get at is that go ahead and make the other unit 1 to 4 first, then the unit from 4 to 5, if that makes sense, okay? Because the reason being is it costs the same, but you're only getting a small incremental increase on one unit from 4 to 5, whereas you can get the other unit from 1 to 4, which is a much better increase because all the increments are evenly distributed in terms of skill level. Okay, so basically you get even increments throughout 1 to 11. So yeah, please reevaluate the units that you have right now and start researching those skills. It is imperative that you do so, especially since they take so long. So let's move on to resource management in the mid game. Now, some folks have resources like I have right now, which are halfway decent. Okay, I'm not completely broke, but you might be sitting there as a new player entering the mid game with like 20,000, 30,000 supplies, and you have no idea what to do with them. Okay, so what you can do with them is 2 things. The first thing is you can start building devices. Okay, I didn't talk about this in the previous video because I felt it wasn't necessary as a new player. But as a mid-game player entering the mid-range, you should start focusing on devices. I would recommend looking into device recipe list. I think there's one in the English Discord, although it's not official. But also, you don't necessarily have to overthink this. So if you go ahead and click on the devices tab like I am doing right now, you see all these 60s right here? Just go ahead and build it. Okay? Yeah, no problems. All 60s again? Yeah, build another one. And the reason being is because devices also have a level limit on them. First and foremost, your Reflectstars need to be at level 10, 30, and 70 respectively to use all of their 3 device slots. And devices themselves actually have a level limit, okay? So for example, like, let me go and use this one. I got a 5-star the other day. I'm like, oh, cool, that's a 5-star. I can use it, right? Well, no. See, wearable level 80. So even though I've unlocked the level 10 slot for weapons, I would need to be, or my Reflectstar would need to be level 80 for her to use this weapon, okay? So depending on the grade of item that you get, you're going to have a level requirement. So this is another weapon. This is a 4-star. This is wearable level 60, okay? So if you start building devices, right, you're going to have low-level devices like this, okay? And this is wearable at level 20, which is totally respectable. And at the mid-range, that sounds about right. And the more devices that you build, the more chances that you're going to get something that you can use early on and slap it onto your units, okay? Now, these devices help a lot versus a unit that is naked. So right now, if your units are naked and they do not have any devices on that, you need to correct immediately. Build devices, just use the all 60 formula, just start building them. Doesn't matter if they're low level, doesn't matter if they're kind of crappy. Just start building a ton of them because they also have class requirements, meaning like some of them only work on giants, some of them only work on mains, some of them only work on melee units, etc., etc. So you want to build a library of them, so not only can you complete your dailies, but then you can also have something to choose from when you're equipping your units, and you will be equipping them often. Okay, so get on that as a mid game player. Moving on to summoning. So what's nice about Gamekee is that they actually have a very impressive list. Go and look on the left pane here, I should say, on the browser. They have a very impressive list of units in the game that not only have their picture, but it also has their skill and what they do, as well as their summoning formula if it is available. So you're entering the mid game right now, and if you're not broke like a joke like I am, or some other poor souls out there who are like floating 1,000 resources at all times because they're trying to constantly summon for 5 stars or hypers if they're that crazy, but nonetheless, go ahead and refer to this list. I'm going to go ahead and link this in the video description, and go ahead and see which units you want to summon. Okay, maybe it's an aesthetic choice. Maybe you just like the way a unit looks. You can go and aim for that unit. Or maybe you're just trying to go all out and trying to summon a 5-star unit that's really strong. Whatever you do, go ahead and refer to this list and then start summoning that unit. At this stage of the game, if you're hoarding resources, you really shouldn't be. You should be building devices constantly, and you should also be building or trying to summon stronger units. Okay, so you should be floating enough resources just to get by. All right, like I said, refer to the list, get a couple of units that you really want that's going to help your team. If you need secondary opinions, feel free to join the English Discord and ask them what are good units to summon for. Now, moving back to the Gamekee wiki, they actually have a tier list. This is a tentative tier list. It's a PvE tier list, but it is a tier list. If you're completely lost and you don't want to listen to me babble on about what units are good, or anyone in the English Discord, maybe you don't trust them, then maybe you're going to trust Dragon Dance, who I believe is the author of this particular tier list. And it's a PvE one, okay? And what Dragon Dance has done is listed by weight class. For example, here are asteroids. And has also listed the tiers from double S all the way down to C. Now, it should be noted that if the unit even appears on this tier list, that means the unit is worth looking into. C does not mean crap. C means that the unit fills the basic requirement of being halfway decent, and that you might want to look into using them, okay? But obviously, the higher the tier, the better, right? So you want to look at units SS and S, okay? And they've already done it. Very helpful. As with all tier lists, especially if you've played fighting games, this can be completely subjective to the individual user. Don't take this as gospel. Take this as a useful starting point in where you want to look at in what units you want to start summoning for, especially if you're hoarding them, okay? So a very useful guide. Thank you once again for Dragon Dance for making it. I will go ahead and link it in the video description. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the most important part of this guide, and I'm going to go ahead and end with it. And that is scenario grinding. Now, in the previous video, the newbie primer, I talked about grinding scenarios as ancillary grinding. You can actually use scenarios as primary grinding if you're very short on playtime, meaning that maybe you aren't able to sit in front of the game and play a lot. You can actually use scenario to grind pretty easily and get your units to a pretty decent level. Let me go and complete this daily mission here. But the two maps that you're going to go want to look at are 2-6 and 4-2 if you're a mid-game player, okay? 2-6 is very easy to do. It's very good for units, I believe, who just got to level 10 all the way up to 20. So it's like a good map for 10 to 20 off the top of my head. And 4-2 is a good map for units from level 20 all the way up to 40, maybe even mid-40s, okay? So it's a really good map. The only requirement is that you need to open up 4-2, which shouldn't be that hard, but that is, of course, the sole requirement. So I'm going to go and show you why these two maps are good, and I'm also going to show you as proof of concept how to do them. Okay, so let me go and switch off to my beta team, which is a lot weaker than my primary team as proof of concept. I'm actually going to use both this group for both 2-6 and 4-2, okay, because that's how useful these maps are. So let's go and start off with 2-6 here. And let's begin. So the nice thing about this particular scenario is that it gives you a free tank in the form of Jupiter. So Jupiter is not on my team, but she is in my squad, as you can see right here, active squad, because the game has assigned her to it, and she's going to go and follow us around. So let me go and zoom out here. And sorry, I'm using emulator, so it's a little bit janky. So what's nice about this map is that there are only 2 battles, okay, and they're quickly done with the inclusion of the added Jupiter tank. Let me show you how you do that. You're just going to go and start the mission until you get the first flag. And once you get that, you're just going to stop. You're not going to do anything. Let go of your mouse or your fingers or whatever. Jupiter's going to go ahead and run up in front of your team, and she's going to tank for you. And there you go. That's it. You're done. Go ahead and click on the yellow arrow and let your team slowly move over. You don't have to warp over because you want your team to recharge their abilities. And once the next little text box pops up, like so, from this point on, you're just going to go and click on skip, and then you're going to tell your squad to move slightly to the left. And the reason why you do this is that depending on your formation, Jupiter should go ahead and face the oncoming enemies. Now, this might be different depending on your formation. My formation is set up where Jupiter shows up on the right. If Jupiter shows up on the left, then work it however way you need to where Jupiter is going to face the front, because she's basically going to tank the unit, and she's an NPC tank. If she gets damaged, no harm, no foul. It's not going to count into the recovery time of your units, okay? But if your units get damaged, that's not good. You then have to spend time in recovery, okay? So since Jupiter is on the right on my team, I'm going to click on skip. I'm going to go and click to the left, and you saw right there that Jupiter was the first one to go and attack the enemy units, okay? And my units come back. So now we're just going to go and complete the scenario, and now it's done, okay? Very, very quick, very, very easy to do. Decent experience for units from level 10 to 20, and also it gives you that 3-unit bonus at the end, okay, to help you for upgrades. All right, so that is 2-6. Let me just go and claim. All right, I cannot claim them because I am full up. So forgive me for a moment right here while I just spam a bunch of upgrades. You know what, Nemesis needs upgrades. I'm just gonna go and spam a bunch of 2 stars on her. So yeah, that is 2-6, and we're going to go ahead and now show you 4-2, my favorite scenario to grind for mid-range units. Alrighty. So 4-2. So in this particular scenario, the reason why it's very easy to grind, and I recommend it, is that it gives you a ton of experience, but more importantly, you get 3 NPC ships with you. And not only do you get 3 NPC ships with you that can help you fight and tank, but also the scenario only requires you to kill half of the enemies before it's done. Okay, so 3 NPCs, half the enemies for the scenario to clear. What more do you want? It's also a late game scenario, so like I said, it's a really good experience for units level 20 all the way up to 40. Okay, it's really, really good experience for units up to 40, and it can be done under a minute. Right, so it's the perfect package. I'm not sure this is going to be patched out. I dare call it an exploit, but we'll see. But right now, run, don't walk to 4-2 if you can grind daily to get your units up to mid-level. Okay, getting them up to the 40s. Basically, their second fusion. This scenario will get your units up to second fusion very quickly. If you do 2-6, then jump all the way up to 4-2. Okay, so let's show you how it's done. So let's go and click on restart here. We're going to skip the first text box. We're going to skip the second text box. Let's go and zoom in for proof of concept. All right. So you can see there are a lot of units here. We have Wolf 359, which is a guest unit. I also have Wolf 359 as my in part of my team right now. We also have Procyon, which is right there under my little mouse cursor. And then we also have Eager, okay, which is on the far left. Okay, so we have a lot of guest units, which makes this a lot easier. So I'm going to go and zoom on out. And how we do this mission is very straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and head toward the arrow, all right? And once the text box shows up, we're immediately going to retreat, okay? Because there are standing guards where we're heading to, but we don't need to fight them to complete the mission, okay? And that's the part of the exploit. So I'm going to go and click on the gold arrow. And the moment that happens, I'm then going to retreat. So you see those standing units right there? We don't have to fight these units to finish the mission, which why makes it so great. So the moment I click on skip, I'm going to go ahead and retreat. And you see the ambush units are going to come and follow us. Right? So I'm going to retreat far away, reposition myself, and then let my units fight. So let's go and let auto battle do its thing. Now, of course, as with all grinding, depending on your team composition, this may be slower or faster, depending, okay? If you have a relatively low-level team, it might be a little bit slower. If you have a relatively high-level team, it might be faster, okay? But generally, it's very easy because, like I said, you only need to fight half of the units, and you have 3 NPCs with you. And there you go. See, the scenario has ended. So it gives us a little cutscene right there. We're going to go and click on skip. See all those units in the middle that we didn't fight? We didn't have to fight them. Mission's done, folks. And you're going to see right here, this gives us a ton of experience. Now, these units are, some of them are in their 30s, and some of them are in their 40s, but look at that experience, okay? And Izar, who is 43, who got MVP, got 5,000 experience for this, okay? For something that was so easy. As proof of concept, I'm going to go ahead and do this again, okay? Just to show you how fast it is. And this time, we're going to go and do it in the natural way, meaning that I'm not going to sit there and explain to you how to do this thing, okay? We're just going to restart it. So this is kind of proof of concept how easy it is. Now, I've done this so many times that I don't need to even zoom out or do any of that nonsense, okay? I just go and click on the yellow arrow. Okay, it's automatic in my head. Once the text box shows up, I'm then going to go ahead and run away and then fight the ambush units and then end the mission. So that's how it works. There it is. And now I just run away. It's that easy. Okay? It's that simple. All right, and like I said, depending on your team composition and who's in your team, it's going to be quicker or faster. Let's hope Izar pulls through in this one because she's taking a lot of damage because I have no tank on my beta team. My beta team is just used for farming. But hopefully they should go ahead and finish this mission. Now, if I'd done this with Jupiter, I can almost do it flawless, like every single time. Like none of my units take any damage. But like I said, this is my beta team. Not very that good. And I did it in 6 minutes and 15 seconds. So I did this one in 45 seconds with a team that's not optimized, okay? These are literally my secondary units, okay? And look at that juicy experience that I got for all of them, all right? Very, very easy to do. 4-2 is an amazing grind for scenarios, okay? So I highly recommend you check it out. So I'm not even going to collect that because I think I've talked enough. Phew. All right, folks. That is it for this video. I hope you found it useful. As always, feel free to check out the first video, the newbie primer guide. Check out the comments section for help. Because once again, Green Villager and Vendi, as well as Kwin, post a lot of useful information that you should go ahead and read over, okay, on top of the stuff that I showed you today as well as in the video. Another shout out once again to Dragon Dance for maintaining the game key, which is extremely helpful. Once again, there is a list on there, which I'll link in the YouTube description, for the units as well as their abilities, as well as the formula to summon them. And there's also a tentative tier list out for the game right now for PvE purposes, so feel free to check that out as well. My throat is extremely tired. I am sorry. It's getting coarse. I have to stop this video. Thank you so much for watching as always. If you want to see what else I am up to, feel free to visit my website, boxinacorner.net. I do many things. I'm not just a one-trick pony. That website reflects a lot of other stuff that I'm interested in as well, and hopefully you find something that is interesting there. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day, afternoon, or night, wherever you are. I'll see you next time.